forgive us for anything. Therefore, if you feel the need to forgive someone else, you are suggesting that you are denying who you really are. Forgiveness, therefore, is the biggest obstacle to spiritual growth. Now, let me make one thing clear, because I've had this conversation now for several years. I'm not saying that forgiveness cannot be a useful tool for a beginner, the beginning student who wishes to move toward mastery in living. It can be a useful beginning tool when you haven't fully accepted or fully committed to demonstrating divinity, to demonstrating your true identity. So it's like a first step. It's like baby steps. It's like training wheels on a bicycle, for instance. But there comes a time when we've learned to ride the bicycle well enough that we can keep our balance, and we take the training wheels off the bicycle. Forgiveness is the training wheel of spirituality. Remember that I said that. Forgiveness is the training wheel of spirituality. But when you begin to be able to keep your balance and embrace your true identity as who you really are, then forgiveness, continuing to practice forgiveness, actually becomes an obstacle to spiritual growth, like keeping the training wheels on a bicycle. Even if you're 15 years old or 20 years old or 30 years old, and you still have the training wheels on the bike, you will never be able to ride the bike, to ride the bicycle with the ability to find your balance, because you've kept the training wheels on the bicycle. You must take the training wheels off the bicycle in order to find your true balance. It's the same thing with forgiveness. So once you have balanced yourself between the human part of you and the divine part of you, you release forgiveness forever. And you never have to forgive anyone for anything at all, because you realize they cannot hurt, disappoint, damage, frustrate, or anger you in any way, because you need nothing from them. Then understanding replaces forgiveness in the mind of the master. You suddenly understand how they could have said such a thing, or how they could have done such a thing. See, because often we ask ourselves, how could they say that? Or how could she have done such a thing? But when we release our idea that we have been hurt or offended by it, when we embrace our true identity as demonstrations of divinity, suddenly we understand, oh, I understand how they could have said something like that. I understand how he could have done something like that. And what helps us to understand that, by the way, is the fact that we have probably said or done the same kinds of things in our own life at one time or another before we understand who we really are. So understanding helps us to find the compassion that allows us to continue loving that person, even when they did or said something that, when we were simply students, we thought we needed to forgive. So write this on your bathroom mirror in lipstick or soap. Understanding replaces forgiveness in the mind of the master. Understanding replaces forgiveness in the mind of the master. That is a powerful message. And if you embrace that message as the truth of your life will change. Now, I could, of course, be wrong about all of this, but I don't think so.
Yes, it's wonderful, and also applies to ourselves, to forgive ourselves our mistakes. Once you
Exactly.
do that to the other people, I can forgive myself. I understood I was, you helped me with this meditation and getting out ahead of things.
And now I don't even have to forgive myself, because now I understand how I could have done such a thing.
Yes, I
And
disconnected.
my understanding allows me to feel compassion and love for myself.
Yes, this is one of the most profound spiritual ideas I have ever heard, and it's yours, and I have ever experienced, and I have no words to. It changes everything to me, and thank you very much, Neale.
You're very welcome. Of course, the idea isn't mine. It was given to me directly by God. And I understand it's one of the revolutionary spiritual messages in the Conversations with God body of work. If you begin to embrace these messages that I'm telling you to put on your bathroom mirror one at a time, be careful. Your life will never be the same. It will improve for the better beyond anything you might have been able to imagine.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Tudor has a hand up. Tudor, how may I serve you this evening?
Hi, Neale. Thank you for being here and giving us this opportunity to talk with God through you. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me.
I hear you perfectly.
Great.
How may I serve you?
Keeping the same line, just to help me to understand, and at the same time with me, the others in this meeting or this webinar, to understand why I have a lot of questions with why and how.
Ask away.
About the Bible mainly, because the Bible introduced a lot of turmoil and a lot of suffering in the world since when the Bible started to exist. And one question would be who is the God from the Bible, or from the Bibles, because there are many versions describing all kinds of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and our parents, our grandparents, they lived with those beliefs or with that knowledge, and they conducted their life according to the Bibles, all the generations before us. And now we are coming with these books. For me, sounds like a new Bible, a new version of the Bible, and it's kind of paradigm shift. It's a huge shift. It's a new perspective regarding life, death, the life cycle of human's life on this earth and in the universe. You've just answered one of my questions. What are the mechanics of the death and the birth, and why we are, as souls, we have this kind of agenda in which we are coming here on earth and we have to suffer. Some, or the big part of the souls, have to suffer in this body and with these minds. And why it's happening in this way?
No, we don't have to suffer. The Buddha spent his entire life telling us we don't have to suffer. But let's talk a little bit about Holy Scriptures, because I want to make certain that people don't think that the Bible is the Holy Scripture that has created such challenge and difficulty and such negativity on the earth. Exactly. You could just as easily have said the Bhagavad Gita. You could just as easily have said the Book of Mormon. You could just as easily have mentioned any one of the 463 Holy Scriptures in the world. The Bible is not the only Holy Scripture. There are over 460 different Holy Scriptures, the Upanishads. We could just name them and name them and name them. So it's not just the Bible that people have taken to themselves and lived their lives from. So let's be real clear about that. And I want to be clear about something else as well. I don't believe that the world's religions, oh, and by the way, speaking of large numbers, do you know how many religions there are in the world? There are well over 2,000 religions, separate, different religions in the world. I think it's almost like 2,600 individual religions in the world. So Conversations with God tells us that religions don't have it wrong. They simply are incomplete. The Bible is not wrong. It's simply incomplete according to what we have come to know in the Conversations with God messages. It's like a child who has learned how to add and subtract. Children, the first thing they learn about mathematics is adding and subtracting. That's the very first thing they learn. It would be dangerous for a child to think that adding and subtracting is all there is to mathematics. There's a great deal more. There's addition and subtraction, but there's also division and multiplication, to talk about nothing about higher mathematics and even higher mathematics. So if you think that adding and subtracting is all there is to mathematics, you will have stopped way short of all there is to know. The same thing is true of our religions. The world's religions are not wrong. They're not bad. They're not a bundle of errors. They're simply incomplete. They don't have the full story and all that there is to know. So the question that Conversations with God invites us to ask is a very simple question. Is it possible? Is it just possible that there's something we don't fully understand about God and about life and about who we are, the understanding of which would change everything? Now, I asked that question earlier this evening, and I'm bringing it back into the discussion now because it's a perfect example of how we should approach the Bible or any other Holy Scripture. We can read the Bible and find many, not a few, but many wonderful lessons and a great deal of truth in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the Upanishads, in the Book of Mormon, in the Talmud, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the world's great spiritual scriptures. There's much wonderful information. It's simply not complete. So if we allow ourselves to know that, then we can continue asking the important questions. For instance, we can ask, is it true? Is it true that there's only one way to God? Is it true that there's only one way back home? Is it true that every Jew, every Muslim, every Buddhist, every Mormon, is it true that everyone who belongs to any other religion other than the Christian religion is going straight to hell when they die? Is that true? Or what about a person who doesn't believe in God at all? What about a person who has no belief in God? Like the son of one of our ladies, not Sue, but her her partner, whose name I've temporarily forgotten, but she was with us. She said her son doesn't believe in God. He prides himself on being an atheist. If you're an atheist and you don't believe in God, when you die, is God going to say, you're going straight to hell? Is that true? Many religions would say yes. Yes, that's true. God will punish us, not for anything we've done, by the way. We could be a perfectly wonderful person. We could be perfectly compassionate, perfectly generous, perfectly loving, perfectly understanding, perfectly patient, perfectly caring for others. We could be a really wonderful, wonderful human being. We simply don't believe in God. So we're going to hell for everlasting damnation because God is going to show us who's the boss. I mean, and people believe this. And they preach it from the pulpit. I wrote a book a few years ago, God's Message to the World. That's the title of the book, God's Message to the World. The subtitle, You've Got Me All Wrong.
Yeah, okay. I remember the book, yes.
God's Message to the World, You've Got Me All Wrong. So if that was true, that we really have got all wrong, then the question is, what is right? What would be right?
Yes.
And that's where we are invited to dive deeply inside of ourselves and use whatever tool, whatever device you can find that can take you to the place of self-exploration and self-discovery, and so that you can be your own authority in the matter, so that you can answer the question, does it feel true? For instance, let me give you one more example just to make the point. I was born and raised as a Roman Catholic, and I know that there are many Catholics or former Catholics, either one, who are participating in this program right now. When I was a young boy, I was told that if you're not Catholic, if you're not Christian, you're going to hell. Now, here's where it got interesting. I was told that a baby, a 6-week-old baby, unless it's baptized, will not go to heaven. And I couldn't believe it. I remember asking the priest, we had catechism classes in my school as a child. And I would say to the priest, I must have been 7 or maybe 9 years old. And I'm saying to the priest, Father, is it true that God would not allow an innocent 6-week-old baby, if it died from some illness or and it wasn't baptized, if the parents didn't get it baptized fast enough? Is it true that the baby will not be allowed in heaven? And the priest said, yes, my son. And I said, well, where will the baby go? To hell? And the priest said, no, my child, not to hell. Well, will it go to purgatory, which is almost as bad as hell? Purgatory is like hell, only it's not forever. So I had a few marriages like that, but we won't discuss it. But I said, will it go to purgatory? And the priest said, no, my son. Well, where will the baby go? It can't go to heaven. God won't let it into heaven, but it won't go to hell and it won't go to purgatory. Where will it go? And the priest answered, limbo.
Whoa. Like in Buddhist belief, limbo.
The baby goes to limbo. Now, you might be happy to hear that a few years ago, not hundreds of years ago, but I think 16 or 18 years ago, maybe even less, the Pope declared that the teaching of limbo was a mistake, that there's no such place as limbo.
But how he knows exactly that?
So the Pope changed the Catholic teaching and said that limbo does not exist. The
Okay.
Pope also declared about 25 years ago that hell as a
Yep.
place of damnation, forever damnation, also does not exist. So you might find that hard to believe, but the Pope actually declared that the experience of hell is simply the experience of feeling separate from God. And you can experience hell on earth as well as hell after you die if you feel separate from God. But all that is required for you to get out of hell and to feel one with God is to desire to do so. Desire creates the experience of divinity in your life. And the more you desire that experience, the more you will experience the divine as part of your reality. So that is my response to the question about all the damage that's been done by the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or the many other sacred scriptures, the sacred writings of all the world's great religions.
Okay, thank you. But still, I have still questions. Then why, if we are part of the God, we are souls from the divinity, why our experience on earth, it's so disconnected? I mean, it's clear that a big part of the population, their understanding, their or misunderstanding or ignorance is so high, it's huge levels.
Yes, because there's a very good reason. We are really like children. The answer to your question is that we are a primitive, almost barbaric species of life. We have just barely gotten out of our barbaric behaviors. Even some of those behaviors still arise in the human experience. Not because we're mean, not because we're cruel by nature, not because we're unkind, simply because we are the babies of the universe. Let me give you an example. There's a wonderful book called New World, New Mind. And in that book, we are given a description of how young we really are as a species. Let me roll this out for you and see if you can grab this in your mind.
Please.
The authors, I'm sorry?
Please, yes.
Yeah. The authors of that book said, take a calendar year, one calendar year. We're almost coming to the end of 2020. So take a calendar year from January 1st to December 31st and overlay it on the age of the earth, just as a means, as a metaphor, as a way of measuring, what the truth is about the age of the earth. So let's say the earth was created on January 1st, and let's say that today is December 31st, just to give us a scale of understanding. On that scale, the first form of life, molecular, first molecular, submolecular life did not appear until the middle of February on that scale. On that scale, more sophisticated life forms, fish in the sea, birds in the air, did not appear until Thanksgiving, until November, the third week of November on that scale. On that scale, dinosaurs did not appear on this planet until December the 5th. And on that scale, dinosaurs did not leave the earth, were not rendered extinct on the earth, did not disappear until, ironically, December 25th. And on that scale, using that as a measuring device, humanoids, not human beings, but just humanoids, that is, mammals that walked on two legs and began to act a little bit like humans, did not appear until December the 31st. And all of human history, as we have recorded it, has taken place in the last 60 seconds of the year. That's how young we are compared to the age of the earth. Forget about the age of the cosmos.
Oh, yes.
So we see that we are extremely primitive children. We are the infants of the universe. And that explains why so few people truly understand God and life and themselves. And that explains why, as you have observed, so many people do not understand and act as if they don't know how to love, they don't know how to have compassion, they don't know how to not use force to get what they want, they don't know how to simply be nice. We are learning like little children have to be taught, like you teach your little 3-year-old. Oh, sweetheart, be nice. Sweetheart, don't take your little brother's toys. Don't hit your sister. Be nice. We have to teach our children how to be nice. And we have barely learned how to be nice ourselves. But that's the reason why. Now, if we understand that, then we will allow ourselves to have the patience to grow and to step into our larger understandings. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that growth is not a 1, 2, 3, 4 progression. That is, it is not sequential, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Evolutionary growth, we are told, is expressed and experienced as an exponential growth. 2, 4, 6, 8, 32, 16, 32.
Fibonacci's series?
Yes.
Fibonacci's series.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good example of it. And so we see then that growth is experienced exponentially. So the good news is we will not have to wait another 300 or 3,000 years to expand our awareness sufficiently to produce a different way of living of the earth, because we are growing exponentially, more rapidly every year and every decade. And let me tell you something, like I have a personal experience of that. A book called Conversations with God, written by a human being, would not even have been published, much less have been read 25 or 30 years ago. No publisher would have even published it 50 years ago. It was published 25 years ago, and it was considered very daring. 50 years ago, no publisher would have even touched it. But we have gotten to the point where we can now accept, oh, I see. It's possible that God is having conversations with not just the Pope, but with everybody all the time. Wow, what an idea. And so the bad news is we're still little children. The good news is we're growing up very rapidly. The only question remaining is, will we grow up fast enough before we destroy ourselves? That's the question. And that's part of what we talk about in the book titled the God solution, which we'll talk about tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you very much. I will add then that Darwin's evolution theory is not wrong, but it's incomplete, like the Bible's.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And
That's exact. It's not wrong, but it just has measured the process differently.
I see. And then for us as human beings to evolve, it means that we need a lot of reincarnations or lives on the earth.
That's exactly what this weekend is all about.
Okay.
How to be a light unto the darkness. If we can get enough people to decide to be a light unto the darkness, we can even push the evolutionary process forward even more rapidly. What we need, and we'll talk about this tomorrow night, what we need are some idea heroes. Tomorrow night, we'll discuss the whole concept. Remind me, if I don't bring it up, Tudor, remind me, raise your hand and say, hey, Neale, you were going to talk about idea heroes, because tomorrow night we will explore what it means to be an idea hero. And if we have enough idea heroes in the world, we can actually change the speed with which we evolve.
And regarding this theory with reincarnations, what do you say about
regarding what?
Reincarnation or re-embodying, coming back on Earth many times, many lives on Earth. A soul can embody many times.
Yes.
In its evolution agenda.
Yes.
100 years, I don't think it's sufficient to grow.
Well, it hasn't been until now, but with the exponential increase in the speed with which we evolve, 100 years could be very fast, and we might be able to get to a place. We won't be at a level of mastery, but we might be at least in 100 years at a place, if we survive, we could at least be in a place where we have learned to be kind to each other, caring of each other, compassionate with each other, and learned the main lesson of life, that we are one with each other, not just one with God, but one with each other. That's what we are desperately trying to learn in this very moment of our evolutionary process. We are seeing on the planet right now a level of alienation, a level of separation that I've never seen before in my lifetime, with people alienating each other, separating from each other because they have different political views or different nationalities or different sexual orientations, sexual experiences, or different income levels, even the rich and the poor and so forth. So if we have any differences, then we are finding ourselves separating from each other. And that is the biggest problem in the world today. But at the same time that this is happening, it's also happening that we are learning and remembering more rapidly than we ever did before that really we are all one. It doesn't matter what our sexual identity is. It doesn't matter what our political identity is. It doesn't matter what our nationality is. It doesn't matter whether we are liberal or conservative, Democrat or I can't say the word.
Why not?
Because I don't want to swear on the air. But
it's part of that. Yeah, also.
just having a little fun here.
Yeah, okay.
but when we understand that we are all one, and you know what's interesting about that? It was the very first message in Conversations with God.
Okay.
Of the first messages of book 1, mind you, there are 9 books and 4,000 pages of messages. But in the 4,000 pages, the earliest messages are, we are all one. All things are one thing. There is only one thing, and all things are part of the one thing there is. That's why we do this when we pray. It's a natural instinct. We pray like this to signify, to demonstrate that we are all one. We're together. And that's what all the great spiritual teachers through all the centuries have said. What you do for me, you do for you. And what you fail to do for me, you fail to do for you. Because there's only one of us. We are all waves on the same ocean.
Yes, but as long as we run above the surface of the ocean, we feel each other separated from each other. We have to go back
unless we don't.
Yeah.
The wave does not feel itself separate from each other, and the wave does not feel itself separate from the ocean because the wave knows better. So our chance, our opportunity here is to go out there and make waves.
Okay, agree. Perfect. Thank you very much, Neale.
You're welcome. Alina has her hand up. Alina, how can I serve you this evening? Is it Alina or Alina? A-L-I-N-A? Antoni? Alina? Please turn your microphone on.
Hi,
Make sure. Hi.
I'm here.
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderfully happy that you are. How may I serve you tonight?
First of all, thank you for this wonderful moments I'm facing. I just moved into a new house, and I was just listening to you. Sometimes I was putting the things back, and it's really amazing that you are following me in this new journey.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell me how I may be of service to you.
I just found out that during my lifetime, I wanted most of the time to be in different place than I've been.
Do you mean a different physical place or a different mental, spiritual place?
Everything.
Oh,
So
all of it.
Exactly. So when I achieved something, or when I been stable with something or somebody, I wanted to switch. And I'm of course searching, I'm developing, I'm doing a lot of things for me and for the others. But this is something that I realized lately. I didn't know it. I was thinking that I'm perfectional, that I want more and more to grow, but in fact it was that I was not happy with, or I don't know if it's the happy is the word.
Fulfilled.
Exactly. And my kind request for your help is, maybe you can give me an idea from where I can take it to solve this.
Well, I think that the answer that comes up for me is to be clear on what it is you're trying to do. So what is it that you're trying to do specifically in your life? And what I want to say to you is something you may have heard me say about an hour ago. What you're trying to do has nothing to do with where you're living, what you're doing, your career, who your partner is, what you wear, what you eat. It has nothing to do with your physical life in the way that most of us think that it does. That doesn't mean that your physical life has no meaning. but it means that your physical life is a product, an outflow of what you came here to accomplish. It's not what you came here to accomplish. So the reason that most people who feel the way you feel, they want to keep on changing, they can't seem to settle down, they can't seem to be satisfied with anything being what it is that they don't know what they're trying to do. My dear Alina, for most of my life, that's where I was. From the time I was 16, 15 or 16, old enough to get out of the house and start living my own life, which I did when I was 16 years old. From the time I was 16 until the time I was 50, I had no idea what I was doing here. What am I doing here? I thought that life was about for me, life was about get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house, get the better job, get the better car, get the better house, get the spouse, get the better spouse, get the better spouse, get the better spouse, get the kids, get the grandkids, get the office in the corner with my name on the door, get the building on the corner with my name on top of the building, then get the gray hair, get the retirement watch, get the sickness, and get out. And that was my understanding of the formula of life. I call that formula, get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house. Get the position, get the title, get the career, get the accomplishments, get the award. I got the award once as one of the best people at where I worked. I got the award as one of the best performers. And that's what I thought that life was about until I was 50 years old and I realized how empty my life really was. And that's why I was never fulfilled and never satisfied, because I wasn't doing anything that had anything to do with the real reason that I was here. And the real reason that I was here was to recreate myself brand new in every golden moment of now, in the next grandest version of the greatest vision I ever held about who I am. Or to put it in simple language, to self-realize. Self-realization creates self-fulfillment, but you will never feel fulfilled unless you are self-realized, even a little bit. You don't have to be completely self-realized. You don't have to be, a walking master like Buddha or, Muhammad, bless his holy name, or Jesus, or Mother Teresa, or any of the masters, male or female, through the years. You don't have to be a walking master, but even to experience a little bit of your true self. That's why this is called the self-realization movement. To experience a little bit of your true self, all of a sudden we feel fulfilled no matter what we're doing. Whether we have this career or that career, live in this house or live in that house, live with this person or live with that person. Those things no longer become the primary goal or objective of our life, but they do become the product of our life. They become that which results from the decision we've made about who we really are and how we can demonstrate that in our life. And here's one way to demonstrate it. I mentioned this earlier today. I'm going to mention it again because it's worth repeating. Here's how you can demonstrate who you really are. I don't care what your career is. I don't care what company you work for. I don't care how many life partners you have. I don't care how many children you have or how many new houses you move into. None of that matters. But here's how you can demonstrate your true identity. And of course, your true identity is you are an individuation of divinity. And how you can do it is as soon as you walk into another place, Maybe it's another room of your own house, or maybe it's outside of your house and you go downtown, or you go down the street and in another part of the neighborhood. To say to yourself, as soon as you see any other person, I am here that you may have life and that you may have it more abundantly. Your life will be made better because I passed through your life. I promise you. Now, when you think that way, and if you were to do that with everybody whose path you cross for the next 6 months, I promise you, you will feel fulfilled. You'll experience your job in a whole new way. You'll experience every relationship, not just romantic relationships, but friendships, every relationship, family. You'll experience it all in a brand new way. And ultimately, you will experience yourself in a brand new way. You will be fulfilled. That is, you will be filled with the wonder of who you really are. Now, my dear Alina, I could be wrong about all of this, but I don't think so. It's something we have to each find out for ourselves. I want to tell everybody as we come to the end of tonight's program, don't believe a word I say. Please don't make it another belief system. My God, the last thing I want you to do is to make this another belief system. God said to me, you'll find it in Conversations with God. It's right there in the book. She said to me, don't believe what you find here. Simply try it. Try it on like you try on a new dress or a new shirt or a new suit or a new pair of shoes. Just try it on. Try it out. See if it works and feels good and right to you. If it does, then you can claim it and say it as your own experience. Not something Neale told you, or something you read in the Bible, like we talked earlier, or something you read in the Bhagavad Gita, or something you read in the Upanishads, or something you read somewhere else in a book by Deepak Chopra. Oh, no, don't mention Deepak Chopra. No. Let it be something that you have found inside of yourself. But if those other sources, including Conversations with God, have been maybe a signal, an opportunity, like a flashlight that shines in the dark and maybe shows you a way you could go, then use it. But if you don't experience it in the way I do, throw it away. By all means, throw it out. Get rid of it. Don't believe a word that I have said tonight. I beg of you. But if it feels worthwhile, if it feels worth your time, try it out. See what happens. As an example, see what happens tomorrow. If as you go into the world, maybe tomorrow's Sunday, but maybe you go to work on Monday, and see what happens if you say in your mind to everybody, not out loud, but in your mind, I have come that you may have life and that you may have it more abundantly. Your life will be made better because I passed through today. I promise you.
I hope I will remember this.
You can't forget it. It's too powerful. You couldn't possibly forget it. Write it down.
Wait a sec, please. Can you please repeat it?
Yes, I can. I have come that you may have life. And that you may have it more abundantly. Period. Your life will be made better. Because I have passed this way. Period. I promise you. Memorize it. I've got it memorized. Memorize it and allow yourself to repeat it in your own mind every time you encounter anybody. Somebody that you're very familiar with, a member of your own family, somebody that you're sharing a house with, or a total stranger at the post office. Do that for 90 days and tell me that you don't feel fulfilled. Impossible. And it will change the way you behave, the way you perform at work. It will change the way you do everything. It will change the way you wash the dishes. It will change the way you clean the house. It will change the way you do everything. Because what you're changing is your state of being. You see, my dear, you're a human being. You're not a human doing. You're a human being. And this is how you change what you are being, moment to moment. Got it? Terrific.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Join us tomorrow night because we'll be talking about the
I
new
will,
book,
definitely.
God's Solution. And if you have any questions tomorrow night, be sure to raise your hand again, because there's no law that says you can only come on here once, as we're going to prove right now, because Wilhelm has returned. He's got his hand up a second time. And then if we can get to Cipriana, we'll try to get to Cipriana. We'll do the best we can with the time we have left. Wilhelm, how can I be of service to you? We have about 6 minutes left in our program this evening.
Hi, Neale. Thank you so much.
I don't hear you, Wilhelm.
Yeah, so
You have to
can you hear
make
me
sure
now?
that I hear you.
Oh. What about now?
Now it's perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, thank you. That's great. So yeah, this is the second time, but I had a question about something different, and you mentioned your friendship with Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
So I found it very gaining the part God says about the moment, the only moment that there is, and that everything happens in this moment. So that prompted me to start meditation and start reading Eckhart Tolle's books. And as you mentioned him earlier in this conversation, I was just curious about what did you learn from Eckhart Tolle? And the second question, because he has like such a soothing voice, how do you prevent yourself from falling asleep when he starts talking?
What I learned from Eckhart Tolle was humility and presence, how to be completely present in every moment, and how not to make more of it or less of it than it really is. And how I stop from falling asleep when I'm around Eckhart is I revel, I joy, I move into my joy at being in the presence of someone who is as remarkably together as I experience him being. Let me now go to Cipriana, who has a question before we say goodbye for the night. But that's my experience of Eckhart Tolle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Cipriana, we can squeeze you in the last 5 or 6 minutes. How can I serve you?
Bună
Okay,
seara!
I do not hear you. Are you speaking
Bună seara!
English? Now, there we go. Okay, now I hear you.
Mă bucur foarte mult, în primul rând, că pot vorbi cu dumneavoastră. E o onoare și o mare bucurie și sunt extrem de entuziasmată. Aș vrea, pe scurt, să îmi răspundeți la o întrebare. Știu că din cărțile dumneavoastră reiese că noi suntem stăpânii vieții noastre, că totul este cumva cu un scop și nu putem greși în alegerile noastre. Totuși, eu am senzația de multe ori că, da, într-adevăr, cumva totul e cu un scop și viața ne conduce acolo unde trebuie, spre scopul nostru pe care ni-l dorim cel mai înalt, dar am senzația uneori și că putem greși și aș vrea să-mi spuneți ce credeți dumneavoastră.
I don't believe in mistakes. I don't think that we can make mistakes. I think we can only, not in the true sense of the word. You know, we can do things that turn out differently than we thought they were going to turn out. But in the end, my life has taught me that it has always turned out for the best. Therefore, in the truest sense of the word, it was not a mistake, but merely one more step up the ladder to the next place in our evolutionary process. So it has helped me not to call things mistakes. Otherwise, I start feeling bad about myself. Oh, I made so many mistakes. I made so many mistakes. As an example, I have had many relationships with women in my life. You don't want to know how many, Cipriana, because I've had many, many relationships, each one of which I thought was going to be forever. But no, then it ended. No, then it ended. No, then it ended. Then it ended. Then it ended. Over and over again. Now, if I thought of each of those as mistakes that I made, then I would probably beat myself up. Why can't I ever do anything right in relationship? What's the matter with me? But after I had my conversation with God, I came to understand that those were not mistakes, but stepping stones that have taken me to a place of greater awareness, greater understanding, and the greatest experience yet of relationship in my life, which I now have with my present wife, with whom I've been partners for 13 wonderful years. So I don't believe in mistakes. And it's no mistake to say that our program is over for tonight. I'm glad you were with us. I'm glad all of you were with us. Thank all of you for being part of this program. Tonight, last evening, for these 12 hours that we have had together to share our understandings and to explore our ideas and our questions about the true nature of life, the true nature of divinity, the true nature of God, of who you are. This is who you are. Divinity demonstrated. I'm glad we had the opportunity to explore that together. I want to say thank you to the wonderful organization, the wonderful team that put this together, to my son, Nicholas, for the role he played on our end to make sure that if anything did go wrong on our end, he was there to be a helper, and he did a wonderful job at the very beginning of this, early yesterday, when he fixed a problem that I was having. And I want to say thanks to Cosmin and to all of the other, Aline, and to our interpreters, by the way, our translators who did a wonderful job as well in their work with us, and to the entire organization that was there all along from the beginning to help us. Thank you all. And I hope that you got from this program what you intended to get, and that you experienced what you wished to experience. It's time now for us to say goodbye and for us to begin the next step in our life, to step forward in gratitude for this time that we have shared, and to become the next grandest version of who we really are.